Hi, everybody. My name is Walter Scott. I am the creator of Wendy. Thank you for joining me. So I'm going to speak a little bit about Wendy, and then I'm going to do a live reading from the upcoming Wendy book, Wendy, Master of Art. So just a bit of an overview for people who might not know who Wendy is. The way I define Wendy, or the way Wendy's been defined, is she's a young contemporary artist trying to make it in the art world. She lives in an urban center, and she's often very distracted by her own desires and habits. And she's similar to a lot of people you might know who are artists, and you may or may not even see yourself in Wendy, depending on how willing you are to admit to your own self-destructive tendencies. Or, in this case, how willing I am to do that. I started Wendy in 2011. She started as basically a Facebook post. I drew her on the back of a placemat the next day after a long night of going out and doing the whole Montreal thing. So I brought the placemat home and I whipped up a really quick comic together on Photoshop. And I have it actually. I'll just show really quickly. This is from the French version of Wendy, en français, which is available through Mécanique Générale. The original was in English, but here you see the French version. So she's saying, let me see, how does that? It's not War and Peace, really. It was just like a way to make me and my friends laugh on Facebook. And this really one-time gag turned into a series, and I posted a couple more on Facebook. And then my friend had a fashion zine, and I did a 2-page spread of a Wendy comic. So she started to grow a little bit every day. And so in 2011, I made a zine of Wendy, and I sold it at Expo Zine in Montreal, actually, because that's where I was living. And people came to buy the zine. I charged $8. I stapled it myself. I was not rich enough to afford the photocopy place to staple it for me. Eventually, I was. And then in 2012, I made a sequel called Trendy Wendy, which more or less was inspired by my time doing an artist residency at the Banff Centre for the Arts in Banff, Alberta. And so that one is like a little bit more directly about my experiences in the contemporary art world in Canada. Because the first Wendy zine was more like Montreal party time, and so then the second zine was more like Wendy trying to be a serious artist in like the Canadian art scene. So it was a way to like poke fun at like the idea of residencies and the idea of like artists with different disciplines coming together. And it also included a bit of sort of identity politics, because her friend Winona is an Indigenous artist. And you get to see sort of her subjectivity, where she's coming from, and how her and Wendy have to sort of relate, and how their lives and the way that they're perceived by other people is very different. So it was a way for me to fold in things that I'm thinking about in terms of my own identity as somebody who comes from a Mohawk community just outside of Montreal called Kahnawake. So Winona is a bit of a cipher for that aspect of my experiences. And so I was, going to make a third book, but very luckily, these 2 zines that I had published on my own and circulated, even just using an Etsy store, fell into the hands of Annie Koyama at Koyama Press, based in Toronto. And so she said that if you make a third zine's worth of material, we can take all 3 and we'll put it in a book and then we'll sell it. well, publish it and then hopefully sell it. And so that was, so that happened, and it was my first shot. And then I had a bookstore in the stores, and that had never happened to me before. And so Wendy herself, because I'm a contemporary artist who I don't just do comics, like Wendy has leaked into other ways of making for me. I've done Wendy billboards, tote bags. I led a residency at the Plug-in ICA in Winnipeg, which is a gallery, just sort of like a Wendy sort of reading group where we talk about issues of contemporary art using Wendy as a starting off point. I also make sculpture, and I do performance, and these sculptures and performances are a bit about, or like the core of them is like something about making a character or making an avatar of yourself, which is what Wendy is. So I guess that's like a rundown of my history. That's a rundown of the history of Wendy and a little bit about who I am. So I'd be glad to do a bit of a reading from the new book, Wendy, Master of Art. There it is. And so before I begin, I'll just explain. So Wendy is teaching at an art school, and she's just getting to understand herself as a mentor or a teacher. She wasn't really someone like that before. She's trying to understand that new responsibility while juggling some of her old habits that maybe don't serve her as much as they used to. And she's also trying to understand herself in relation to her new classmates. So I'll begin. Wendy, get up. I'm going to the bus station now. Oh, we were supposed to do brunch. I'm sorry. I can't leave my bed. I can't possibly. There's no time now anyway. I'm sorry. Well, it was nice to see you. Good luck with your performance today. Goodbye, Wendy. Have fun teaching today. Slam. Shit! Is she coming? Is class today? I'm leaving too. Hi, everyone. Excuse my lateness. There was an emergency. Since we're starting class an hour late, we'll have to share our critiques. We'll have to shave our critiques down to 5 minutes per person. So I'll let you talk amongst yourselves. Be right back. So tell us about your piece. This is a drawing of my hand. I wanted to make it as realistic as possible. I think realistic art is real art. Anyone can make abstract art. Rigorous discussion, talks amongst yourselves. Be right back. Oh, hey, Pam. Hi, Wendy. Crit day? Yes, I'm so hungover. I know the feeling. Really? You? I had to stop drinking. I was a bad girl in Edmonton. I pulled a gun on a girl once because I thought it was funny. People think I'm boring now, but did you hear how you guys were all talking last night? You could bottle it and sell it as sleeping pills. Anyway, I have a painting to finish. See you. Well, that shut me up. Oh, nothing's coming out. Nothing's coming out. Thanks, everyone, for a lovely crit. Goodbye. Miss Wendy? Tomorrow, Kaylee. We'll talk tomorrow. Okay. Did you see Pam's painting today? It was so boring. Your rants about Derrida last night were way more tedious, to be honest. You have vomit in your hair. Yes, I know. The end. That's it. That is a very small taste of what's to come in Wendy, Master of Art. In Wendy's life, in the life of the series, she didn't really get a lot of art making done. But in this one, she gets a little bit more art making done. You get a little bit more of an understanding of like the kinds of art that she's interested in making without really fully knowing what she ever really does. I like to keep the core of Wendy's art practice a mystery because I think it's easier for many different kinds of people to relate to her if it's not exactly clear what kind of arts worker she is. Because really, in a certain way, it doesn't really matter. I think before I do a spin-off, I would like to maybe flesh out a little bit more one of the characters from the Wendy series in the Wendy narrative. So the new book, Wendy, Master of Art, is about 240 pages. And I graduated art school, which the book is sort of based on, and I started writing it like the summer that I finished. And about 1 year later, I finished the book. So I would say it was about 6 months of planning and writing and storyboarding and like another 6 months of inking and digital preparation. Well, I was just texting with Drawn and Quarterly, and apparently they have copies available right now at the Library Jaune and Quarterly store on Bernard in Montreal. And I think otherwise it's available June 15th. So the book, Wendy, Master of Art, is a little bit more about her trying to hunker down and stay in one place. So I actually have to think, does she actually travel? She goes to Montreal and she hangs out in Hell, Ontario. But I think that's about all of the traveling she does for this one. Screamo is back, and you get to know a little bit more about his psyche and maybe the vulnerable human reasons why he acts the way he does. So the question was, is Wendy inspired by me or other people? I think that Wendy is she's an amalgamation of me and like the neurotic projections of who I think I have been, who I think other people are. Like it's like a yes and no kind of question. Um, I think Wendy is an outlet to play out neurotic fantasies about the way things could be, um, and so yeah, it's about, half based on my experiences and half based on experiences that I sort of just come up with. Well, so the question was, do I have other projects besides Wendy? Uh, I so now that I'm done Wendy Master of Art, I'm going to take like a break a little bit from working on a new graphic novel because I have some sculptural and drawing exhibitions that, well, actually may or may not be happening now in the next few months. I know for sure that I have an opening of new sculptures and drawings at Latitude 53 in Edmonton. And if you go to Latitude 53, if you go to their website, it's become an online exhibition. So you could see the show that way. And there's a live stream into the gallery. So you could like watch a live stream of the sculpture sitting there, which is funny or not funny, depending on your sense of humor. And also, I just came back from New York where I was working on a film, an animated film called The Pathos of Mandy. And it's another character, an animated character that's outside of the Wendy universe. And it's a whole completely other person, that like represents another facet potentially of me. So the Pathos of Mandy is also part of that exhibition. And if you go on the website, you could watch a live stream of the gallery that's playing the film. So there's all these like levels of reality that are happening. So that's kind of what's going on right now for me. In terms of making a new Wendy, Wendy 4, I most certainly will. It's just I don't know when, but it may be. I may begin it this year. I may begin it next year. That's all I can say for now about that. I try to keep it vague, because a lot of the autobiographical elements of my work or like origin story weirdly has been put on Winona. And now it makes it a little more unclear where Wendy's actually from. So I haven't really fully figured that out because somebody insinuated that Wendy has an upper middle class background, but I was never really clear on whether that's true or not. So I had to sort of tell them I don't know if that's totally true. I think the fact that Wendy remains a little bit of a mystery, I think I'm okay with for now. And I'm going to try to buy some time before I slowly reveal where she comes from. She does come from a troubled background. There is like a bit of a story in the first book that it sort of flashes back to her troubled upbringing and her parents fighting all the time and maybe setting the groundwork for her attachment issues in the present. But beyond that, like the story, the life story of Wendy is like still in progress in my head. Well, I think Wendy and Winona, they both value artwork and they value the work of artists, um, as do I. And so I think it's easy to develop a love-hate relationship with the art world, just like you might develop a love-hate relationship with any cultural milieu. For me, the most important thing, at least in the Wendy series, is to represent the art world as a place that's filled with people, um, rather than these like rather than the way that the art world is often represented in popular media. I don't think popular media does a really good job of representing the art world as a place with people. I think there's like 2 or 3 jokes about the art world that people like to sort of tell over and over on, television or sitcoms or whatever, which is that the artist puts trash in a gallery and then a whole bunch of pretentious people talk about how deep it is. Like that seems to be like the main joke. So because I'm in the art world and I try to make jokes, I try to make funny jokes about the art world that are also kind of human and have like a human core to them. So I have a private Instagram and it's Walter K. Scott. K as in, what's a word that starts with K? Ganawage. Yeah. Walter K. Scott on Instagram. And I have a website called, and it's walterscott.com, but with 2 W's. So it's Whoa Walter, which you can read into as the 2 W's being Walter and Wendy or a stutter or something. So Walter K. Scott Instagram, walterscott.com. And there you can find out more. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is cute. And I'll see you on the internet. And everybody stay safe and take care of yourself and the people around you.